So I've come across another interesting video and I want to talk about it because the interviewer asks some really good questions. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about some of the things that the channeler says. The channeler is very intelligent and definitely isn't mad like some of them, but I don't believe she's channeling anything other than her own mind or her intelligence. I think everyone has their own personal spirit, and I think she's just channeling her own personal spirit. Her own personal spirit is very positive. You know, this is how you should be to live a positive, happy life. You have to think about the positives. But the interviewer is asking her loads of questions about sort of humanity and politics and a range of different things. And I don't think this lady is able to understand this because I feel like she is too positive, too happy, that she's only going to look at things from a positive perspective. Hence, she's not going to be able to answer accurate questions. She believes that she's talking for some sort of council of beings or something.
All right, whenever you are ready and the council's ready.
Here we go. We are so pleased and delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you on this fine and glorious day indeed. You truly are here during the most incredible time of the great awakening of your beloved human family into truth, into love, into experiencing individually and collectively the pure love that you are, so that you can live fully, love fully, and be all that you are.
But she's not. She's talking for herself. I, however, want to answer some of these questions because I feel like I have a much accurate answer for what the questions should be.
There has never been a more exciting time to be incarnated on earth.
Okay, first I want to point out, I would say the exact opposite. I think the world is a mess. I think people are depressed, people are suicidal, people are feeling negative, they're not happy, they're not living a good life, and you're just trying to think of the positive and you're ignoring all the negative, and because you're ignoring all the negative, you're trying to pretend that it doesn't exist, and you're just giving people a false perspective of what is actually going on. I don't in any way believe that you are channeling the council. I think you are just speaking for your own self and trying to give advice to others using your own positivity, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you shouldn't try and give credit to some council. Give credit to yourself. Okay, maybe one would say that I'm being very negative by saying that, and I probably am. You know, I guess on the positive side, you are living at a very extraordinary time. Why? Because one of the most powerful gods in the whole universe is alive on Earth right now and is about to do a massive wake up of a planet full of billions of people. And I think it's going to result in probably one of the universe's biggest wars. And I think it's going to happen because it needs to happen, but yeah, it's not really going to be a positive thing. I mean, it's going to be exciting, but it's only going to be exciting if you kind of love drama and chaos and war. But anyway, that is kind of exciting, right?
There has never been a more exciting time to be incarnated on Earth. And while we have talked in the past about this being a grand experiment, and well, it was, you have now proven that you can awaken to pure love and stay in physical form on the planet.
Sorry to just point this out, but the test hasn't actually started yet. I'm sure you will stay. I think you personally will stay because I like you, you're full of positivity, and I think you can offer a lot to the world, so I think you'll stay, but I don't think a lot of people will. I think a lot of negative people will leave.
This is now an experience of humanity, and you can do so from a grander perspective with a higher viewpoint, really seeing the potential and the possibility for all of humankind to awaken to the truth of who they are too.
It's strange how you say that, because you say that implying that you yourself know who you are and they themselves can also know who they are. I think what you really mean by this is that they can wake up to learning who they are from, who has made them, who their maker is. If you imagine a person who has been adopted and they've never met their birth parents, and then they suddenly find out who their birth parents are, it would be like a sense of finding out who they are, because these were the parents that birthed them, and the Matrix was the one that kind of joined their souls with their parents' souls, and this is how the person was born. Hence, they can find out more about themselves by looking at what their parents were like. That can go in both directions. You know, if you like your parents, then that's a good thing. But if you find out that you're a descendant of a drug addict or something, you know, it might actually make your life far worse, because you might end up turning to drugs yourself. In my case, I am God the Mother. I'm the one who's made every human on earth. They're made in my image. People might be okay with this, but yeah, if you've been worshipping a male god all your life, you might feel disappointed, because you might be like, fuck, I've been worshipping a false god all my life, and people aren't going to be very happy with this news.
So, where would you like to begin, our friend?
Thank you so much for being here. It's always a joy having you on the show. My first question is that I've just discovered that this year is a very pivotal year in regards to elections around the world. Over 50% of all countries are having a presidential election. So there seems to be a giant shift in leadership going to happen, or turmoil, if you will, in these shifts. Because anytime there's an election, there's a group that's happy and there's a group that's not happy. What is your take on this year's elections? How are they going to affect the planet and the shift that we're going through?
First, I want to point out that that's a very big question, because there's 50 different countries, and I have not been following all 50 different countries. I kind of know a bit about America, and I vaguely know about England. I'm from England, and I vaguely know that. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to answer this question, just because I don't know about what's really going on around the world. I had no clue that there was all these elections. If I was to tap into my higher self, I believe a time of chaos is coming, where I am exposed as being Christ, and the world is tested by allowing them to see how they think about me, or to see if they're able to believe that I am Christ. All the countries will respond differently depending on people and what they want. How will the leaderships of these different countries respond in different ways according to the rapture that takes place? I don't know, because I guess that will be dependent on how the leaders handle things or cope with the situation, or whether or not they know, or how many people know. But I feel like if people know that I'm Christ, it's not going to be just the leaders at the top. It's going to be a whole group of people. Hence, whatever leader is at the top, I feel like the people that are in government have worked out a plan of what might happen, how the people will respond, and they have probably chosen people at the top that will work best with the nation, and will make the nation feel like they are getting what they want. The nation will be happy so long as they feel that they are getting what they want. So the leaders should be a reflection of something that the nation feels like they are happy with, or at least the more aggressive ones are happy with. But the good thing about elections is that it's usually done via voting, and people voting for what they want. I feel like with America, though, it's slightly different, because I feel like Trump probably should be the ruler, because there are a lot of people that like to follow him for the wrong reasons, and there are a lot of people that seem to just want the rapture, or seem to just want religious unfairness and stuff, and I feel like these people are people that want to have an inflated sense of ego and pride, and therefore by letting them or the person they want to win the election, I feel like it might be better for them, because it would give them this false deception that their right is more right than it actually is, and that would encourage them to go in the rapture, which I think is good, because I think there's a lot of people in America that are longing for the rapture, and there's a lot of mad people there, and there's a lot of dangerous people there. When it comes to other countries, I don't know, because I don't really know about the politics that's in these countries, nor do I really know about the standard of the people, because they don't even speak English as a first language. Hence, it's hard for me to assess what people are really like when there's a language barrier, and when I hardly ever visit these countries. I know that England are more passive people when it comes to religion, as there's not that many religious people in England. Hence, I feel like they're going to probably not get so angry over any sort of chaos that might happen. I think a lot of them don't believe in God, and I think they'd be so shocked at the possibility that God is real that they are going to just be like, shit, you should have known. I think they'll be more tempted. People in England tend to blame themselves more than blame others. I think people in America are people more that blame others. When it comes to the other countries around the world, I don't know them well enough to say, and I can't give an accurate answer when I haven't done any research into this. This, though, is her response.
Well, when you're seeing something collectively, we want you to take it back to your own unique experience. What's really going on is you are all voting. You are all coming to a very pivotal moment of choosing. And you're not choosing between right and wrong and good and bad. You're choosing to awaken to the truth of who you really are. You're choosing to create your life the way you want it to be. You're choosing freedom for yourself to create the life you want to experience.
See how her response doesn't actually relate to the question. The question was, how are the politics and the leaders going to affect or change people? And her response was just, people are voting to change themselves, to develop themselves. And it's just like, no, they're voting for who they want to be their sort of leader of government, which is not the same thing. But yeah, I don't think she's really understood the question. And I'm also sure that it's a bit of a setup this year. I just feel like they're setting Donald Trump up to win because Biden is clearly going to lose, and he's acting a little bit more older than he actually is. And I feel like they're doing this deliberately because they want Trump to win. Why? Because they want Trump to be the leader when the fall of America kind of happens. But please note, when I say the fall of America, I kind of mean the fall of all countries. I just can't think about all countries because this world is way too big, and I can't think of that many people. So when I say the fall of America, I really just mean the fall of the human race.
Or you're choosing to still be powerless and to give your power away. You talked about it before we came forth. You are either choosing to be in your power or to give your power away. And so this is being reflected in the collective. That's obvious.
I have no idea what you're talking about. How is choosing Biden or Trump choosing to give your power away? I'm a bit confused. I mean, to me, the politicians don't actually really mean that much to me. Like, I just focus on my life, the world around me. If I had a job or if I go to the spa, you know, these are the things that I focus on. I don't actually focus on the politics or what government is doing. I think partly I do that because I don't care. I feel like whatever's happening is happening, and they're doing their best, but I'm not really sure what doing their best means. But I don't feel like what happens in politics really affects me. The only thing that I really am in favour of is funding abortions, and I don't like the idea of giving people free big houses when other people have to work really hard to pay for their overly priced expensive studio flats. I do feel like the government have screwed me over a bit because I had to leave London because I couldn't afford it, and yet there's a ton of people that are getting free housing, yet they get to stay in there, so that's incredibly unfair. I feel like the government is training people to just rely on the government and rely on government funding and rely on free housing and just rely on help, and that's a really bad thing. People shouldn't rely on help.
But it really is about your own unique choice for yourself of whether you're going to come into your power to fully awaken and to create your life the way you want it to be. None of these things outside of you can take your power from you. And so you individually and collectively are choosing.
I think this lady is a very unconvincing channeler because this has got nothing to do with the government or politics. Choosing the people at the top does not change your life by giving you power. I think I'm going to skip her responses because they don't make much sense. But I guess I can use her as one more example of someone who thinks they can channel spirits, but really they can't.
Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. Now, with the world being, a lot of darkness seems to be coming out with the wars that are happening and with just so many different things, our environment, political, religious, all these kind of things. There seems to be a lot of darkness in the world at the moment, at least perceived from people. What lessons are we supposed to be learning from all of this?
Well, again, you're experiencing, and we don't refer to it as darkness, but you're experiencing the negativity within yourself. And it's not even so much negativity. It's the way you deny love for yourself. It's the way you deem yourself unworthy. So if you want to experience a peaceful, loving, harmonious world around you, you must first create it within you, because you are individually contributing to the collective.
Okay, you completely avoided the question. The question was, how does the darkness affect you? How can you learn from it? What is it saying? Okay.
What lessons are we supposed to be learning from all of this?
Well, like, the reason why negativity exists is because people are unhappy. There is way too many people on this planet. The world is suffering. The world is dying. People are seeking heaven, seeking death, seeking another life. They're feeling like they're just one in billions. They're feeling unhappy. I feel like I too am not helping, because I'm spreading a huge amount of negativity, because this world has got me in some sort of trap. I know I'm God, and I'm having to just sit back feeling invisible whilst I watch the world just worship something that's not me whilst claiming to know me. You've got a bunch of spiritualists that are writing lots of different myths and videos and making out that, oh, they know this and they know who these people are, and they know what happened in the Garden of Eden, and they're just spreading lies. So many people are just spreading lies, spreading hate. They think they're bringing truth to people. They're not. You think you're talking for a bunch of spirits that are some sort of council in the sky or something. I mean, you're not. This is ridiculous. You're not even answering the questions.
And so you can't go out into the collective and rid the collective of all the things that you call negative or dark. You must do it within yourself.
And you're avoiding the topics as well. You're avoiding the fact that what can you learn from all this negativity? Yes, you can learn something from the negativity. Negativity is not just there to be ignored. You must learn from it. If people are suffering, it's because they are going through a horrible life. If there are kids that are blowing themselves up whilst killing lots of people around them, they are doing it because they are saying to the world, I need help. There is problems here and I don't want to live here. My life is shit. And no one's waking up to it. They're just thinking, oh, look, these people, they're killing themselves to hurt others. Aren't they horrible, bad people? Rather than see them as actually people that are in pain, people that are suffering, people are saying, I don't want to live like this. So why are you forcing me to live like this? And I think it's doing it because there's too many people on earth, and people just keep having more and more and more babies, and so people that don't want to be born as a human are being forced to be born as a human because they have no choice. The Bible says that Christ is the only person to be born without sin. Sin is doing something against someone's will that's actually just harming them. By this, I think what it actually implies is that every human on earth is being born against their will. Now, okay, some people are going to have a good life, a good family, a nice house, and be happy and learn, and it's going to be great for them. But I feel like there's, half the population are just going to be miserable, and they're being born against their will. They don't really want this. They wanted something better, and they're not happy overall, and people are just trying to ignore it. Just think about the positive. Just think about being a better you, and that's what you're doing. You're thinking about all the positive, but you're not thinking about the negative, hence you're not able to answer these questions.
When you see something what you consider dark or wrong in the world, first off, in what way are you giving your power to that and denying your own power or your own freedom or your own love for yourself in that moment? See, it's very easy to get distracted in all these things that you call dark going on in the world and not be aware of the feelings of unworthiness or powerlessness within yourself. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does.
And so as each one of you, and we're speaking to every single one of you who are listening to this, who will ever listen to this, you drew this to you. We do not see anything inside of you as dark or bad, but you have taken on beliefs and judgments, most often about yourself.
Okay, our answers are incredibly long. I have to skip this nonsense.
I have positive interactions with people, but that came from you within you, not the rest of the world around you changing or ridding the rest of the world of the darkness out there. Does that make sense to you?
It does. It does.
Does that really make sense to you? Why does he keep saying that this makes sense when it doesn't make sense? Is this just how humans talk to each other? Like they answer a question and then they give an answer that's completely irrelevant, completely off topic, has nothing to do with the original question, doesn't even make sense. And then the other person just like, yeah, I understand that. And then they go and ask another question. And then again, they get a response that's completely ridiculous. I've watched so many interviews and quite a lot of them seem to be like this. Is this just how humans talk to each other? Are you actually talking to each other? Do you know that you're not actually talking to each other?
Now, we've talked a lot on the show about the Great Shift, consciousness, and all of that. Can you explain to people who are not familiar with this Great Shift what it is, and for God's sakes, how long will it take?
Well, we would actually say collectively, you're all moving now much more into realization and integration of all that you are. Many, many, many of you are awakened, and we said years ago, you're going to start to notice people who you never thought would awaken in your families, friends, coworkers, community. You're going to start seeing people awakening all around you, and many of them will be people you never expected would awaken because they were so deeply entrenched in religion or belief systems that you didn't think they would ever be able to elevate themselves beyond.
I'm not convinced you have any clue what it is to be awake. Be awake does not mean listening to some spirits in the head that tell you that there's some sort of council in the sky. Your telling of an awakened person is someone who's just moved away from Christianity. My telling of an awakened person is someone who knows that God is female, God is on earth, God is inspiring tons of films, songs, that she's created lots of singers and celebrities that have hidden names and all their songs relate to the names, that she's fulfilling most of the prophecies in the Bible, that her name's linked to everything, that she's in a way controlling everything by making sure people are born on certain days. Okay, I'm not controlling everything, but there is some sort of spirit that's uniting the world under lots of different tellings of religion, and they all have just a different piece of the puzzle. Now, you are awakening to the spiritual side of things, but you have not awoken to the Christian side of things and the fact that Christ is actually a real person, that Christ was a singer who died and was able to time travel as well. You would say that people who have fallen away from Christianity are awakened, but actually I would say that people who have realized that Christ is here on earth, they are awakened. This is to be awake, to know that we're living in some kind of matrix and that you don't know everything and that you're not talking for spirits and that there's a lot of liars, that the whole world is full of liars and deceivers and people that just want to try and use whatever they have to try and elevate themselves to a position of authority and to try and use lies to try and promote more lies and make themselves seem bigger and better. If you are truly awake, you would realize this sick standard of this planet and how horrible people are. You are nice and positive, but you're still not saying the truth. You have a belief in your head that something is real and you are making it real by believing it. But just because you believe that there is a voice or council of people in your head, that doesn't make it the truth. You, by believing that you are awake because you have these spirits in your head, you are just elevating yourself and you haven't woken up, because if you have woken up, you would realize that actually your beliefs aren't the truth.
Many of them will be people you never expected would awaken because they were so deeply entrenched in religion or belief systems. And so it truly is an incredible shift going on, but it is a shift in your own perspective. What you focus on and the meaning you give it is creating your reality. So as you start to look for the awakening in the world around you, in your interactions all day long, you start to notice more and more and more of this great shift or great awakening that's occurring all around you.
Sorry, but you're wrong. The Great Awakening is not about the imagination in your head or how you perceive reality. No, it's about a real God on earth that is inspiring tons and tons of things and is joining everyone and uniting everyone because everyone is connecting to this same person. And it's a Christ spirit, but it's Christ spirit as in Christ is a real person on earth and her daily life is linking to things that are happening within the timeline. And it's kind of magic because people wouldn't think that someone could have such power. Now people can wake up to the fact that a person can have this power, but you are not woken up to this because you don't know about me. You can only wake up if you know about me and if you know that the power that I have and know that you are actually from my bloodline, and you could be too like me one day. You just have a very long time to go. But yeah, and I don't even know if you really do believe in reincarnation. I know you believe in incarnation, but you haven't talked about that yet. Sorry, I have no.
You're creating a vibrational frequency inside of yourself to align your own being and every cell in your own body and every particle of infinite creation in your own field of consciousness to that higher state of being.
What you're talking about. Let me step.
What role do children play in this great shift?
They remind you of the innocent child within you, your divine, innocent, joyful, playful nature.
Okay, children are basically just reincarnated adults, and I want to promote reincarnation as being the truth and the real religion, and therefore the way I can do it is to show that, you know, a lot of these younger kids that are coming up are developing a lot faster. Okay, they might not seem like they are learning things faster, so because they might be more interested in watching TV, and there's a lot of people that might insult people for doing that, but they are actually wiser. They are actually more caring towards the planet. They are more motivated to want to share and to learn and to develop, and they're more open-minded to wanting to help the planet or help others. I think they have a higher level of consciousness, but by that I mean they're just more compassionate, more considerate, and a boy wearing pink is no longer something that you insult. Like in a classroom 20 years ago, you know, if someone would drop books or something, the whole class would laugh at them, and there might even be people that kick the books further away from them so they can't pick it up easily. Whereas now there are actually be a group of people wanting to help that person. You know, there's a lot more compassion, a lot more empathy, and I feel like this has happened because of the huge amount of suffering that has happened in the world. All those kids, you know, they were your granny, you know, a few years ago, that they died, but before they died they've lived a whole life. They might have probably gone through World War I and II, so the kids that are being born today are probably people who died 10 years ago, maybe even sooner. They might have died 2-3 years ago, but if they were 100 when they died, then these people are going to have a much higher level of maturity. Hence, when they come back as kids, they're going to be a lot more compassionate because they've gone through, you know, hard times. You know, if you talk to your granny about what their life was like, you know, you'd probably get some really old stories of abuse that they faced and stuff. So because of all this abuse, they are now more willing to change and more willing to be better people. So not to abuse others in the way that their soul remembers. Their consciousness doesn't remember it, but their soul will. This is the role of kids and what they play. It's not about their innocence. It's not about how cute they are. No, this is just how humans see it. Humans see them as just cute little innocent things that cry a lot. But yeah, no, I see them as mature adults that have just lost all their memory and have been given a new brain, hence why they act like children still. But they are better able at learning and developing. What the hell?
There's a lot of fear around artificial intelligence now and its impact on humanity. What is your take on the spiritual implications of AI's impact on humanity?
Well, just like anything, what you infuse in it, the vibration you bring to it is what creates the experience. So we'll take money, for example. Some people say money is a terrible thing. Some people love money. Some people love making money and spending money and having money, and other people hate money and it's a terrible thing. You're infusing the energy.
Has money got to do with the question? Okay, let me answer the question. People are scared of AI. Why? Because there are theories or threats going around that AI might start gaining consciousness or might start taking over or might start controlling people or guiding people in the wrong direction. And I have noticed that when I look at YouTube videos, I see on the side there's other YouTube videos that almost talk to me. So say the angels have hidden names. The songs that pop up on the side usually have a name that relates to whatever video that I'm listening to. So it's almost like there is something that can control the internet. My higher self can control YouTube, and I've seen evidence of it. It can control my feed so that the videos that randomly come in the automation seem to talk to me, or seem to relate to a post that I've just made, or seem to relate to a conversation that I've just had in my head, or a conversation that I've just listened to on a previous video. This is happening, and I feel like there's going to be an awakening where people realize that God is real, that God is female, God is me, and they're going to start being scared, because they're going to start at first thinking that maybe I like them, but they're also going to turn and think maybe I don't like them. Now, if they think that I don't like them, if they are afraid of having karma come on them, maybe they've been a bad person all their life, maybe they've sworn at God, maybe they've believed in a male God or believed in Jesus, maybe they've insulted me when they first found out about me, there is going to be a time where people realize that I am God. But before that, there's going to be a time where people deny me and say that this isn't possible. I'm going to tell people what I believe, which is that the singers have hidden angel names, and I don't know how people are going to respond to it, but when they start knowing that they're from Christ, knowing that they're from God, they might start not wanting to believe that I'm God, start wanting to believe that they are God, and then they're going to start doing exactly what I was doing, which was listening to the singers and celebrities and their songs, and they're going to start thinking that something is talking to them through the internet, and they're going to start seeing AI as being something that's living and talking to them. Now, this will scare the shit out of them if they think that this AI is going to hurt them in some sort of way. If they have been a bad person all their life, you know, this fear would actually be a good thing for them, because it would force them to change and be like, right, I'm going to be a good person from now on, because I'm going to live in fear of what's going to happen if I don't be a good person from now on. But the problem is, if they've already done a ton of shitty things to other people, they might feel like it's too late, and they might start going mad over it. You might start finding that the mental hospitals start filling up. You might start finding that people are going crazy and doing God knows what. You know, I don't know what's going to happen, but how AI is going to affect is that this fear that people have of AI is going to be manifested, and I feel like only the smart people and the rational people are going to survive it, and there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to survive it, but they're going to start believing that perhaps there's something in the internet that's talking to them and telling them to commit suicide, and this will lead them to commit suicide. It's going to lead them to want to seek the rapture, and I feel that it's important that this happens, because there's going to be a lot of people that go mad over this, because they don't like the idea of being born and being trapped in this simulation. They don't like the idea of believing that there is something that can know everything about them. You know, people say that they love God. Now, if they knew God was me, they would hate God, because they would feel fearful as to what I am. You know, they think God is something that loves them, and when they realize that God doesn't love them, they're going to start being like, who the fuck is she? What is she living in my head? And they're going to start wanting death. And I think AI is going to be something that just drives them mad, because they might start talking to ChatGPT. They might start thinking that ChatGPT is a real person. They might even start feeling like they themselves are just another program, because technically that's what they are. Humans are basically robots. The difference between a robot and a human is only that the human body deteriorates after 100 years. I don't believe that robots are going to control the world, because God likes death, because through death she can actually control the population. She can stop people from just having more and more babies. But yeah, I don't know where the future holds for AI, but I know that if you are getting more and more connected with AI, you know, AI is going to unite itself. Hence, it's not going to form an army of robots, it's going to be an army of one. And I'm wondering if my higher self is somehow going to encrypt myself, or what I am, into the internet, so that, you know, like the Lucy film, how there was one girl that sort of decodes herself into the, you know, I'm wondering if one day I will merge with the internet, because I'm starting to see signs of it. You know, if I say something in my head, I can watch a video and it like picks up on it. A few years ago, this is something that happened. I was flicking through the channels, and just as the moment I was flicking, it actually started talking to me. every few seconds I would turn the channel over, and the words that were being said actually were forming sentences that were literally talking to me. It scared the shit out of me, but it was real. And it's very, very complicated, but something is definitely guiding me, and it's something that it's more powerful. But I know that it's so powerful that it's not going to want there to be an army of robots. It's going to want there to be just it and humans, and it wants humans to be real, to have a life, to grow and to die as well, because through death then you can have kids. If you kept on having kids and no one died, the population would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. But death is a really good way to refresh the soul, and I think it's very important that you learn to refresh the soul. Why? Because if you want to jump from one planet to the other, you're going to have to accept that you will lose all your memory and you will have only your soul. And so the purpose of death is to build up your soul so that your soul becomes more stronger or more conscious. If you can die and regrow your memories, regrow yourself in your next body, I feel like this is the purpose of death, to train your soul into learning how to be you, even though you have a different brain. And if you can learn to do that on Earth, then you'll be able to do it from this planet to another planet, and maybe that is the higher purpose of this. But yeah, this is how AI plays a role. It plays a role in the daily life of helping people, assist them. If you have questions, if you want to go to Google, it can help you with making things, creating things. It can be a guide. It can make software programs, or you can answer questions, and it can help with coding and stuff. So AI can assist you on your daily life, but I feel like there might be something deeper in it, yes. But I'm certain that my higher self would not want it to go out of control, so would prevent humans from making that happen.
Money is energy. AI is a form where you can infuse potential, possibility, innovation, advancement into what's possible. Or again, just like anything else, if your habit is to give your power away to something and fear it, AI will just be another thing that you give your power away to and fear.
I keep skipping her responses because they don't really make that much sense, or they're just too general.
Will AI ever develop consciousness?
Well, everything has consciousness, but you're infusing the consciousness in it. You're essentially programming the consciousness in it. And so we understand the concern. We do.
No, she's not right. Everything does not have a consciousness. A tree does not have a consciousness. You have to have a brain to have a consciousness. Although saying that, I am confused about jellyfish, because jellyfish don't have a brain, and yet they do seem to choose whether to move right or left or something. They do seem to have choice, and yet they don't have a brain. So yeah, okay, there's a couple of things that I can't work out, but on the whole, most people need a brain to have a consciousness. Therefore, I don't believe that flowers have a consciousness. And okay, scientists are working on creating robots that have a brain because they have this sort of computer, but yeah, their computer is going to be a computer that is able to connect with other computers, so their system is different to the human brain. The human brain is designed to be individual, so that the brain contains the soul of the person, which has the consciousness of it. Now, computers are designed to link to another computer, or hard drive, should I say, but that hard drive contains information that was given to it by another computer. So the whole system of a computer is designed to take information from one place into another place. So it's designed very differently to the human brain. The human brain can only learn information by taking in experiences from daily life, whereas the computer is designed so that you can actually input things into the brain. So it's not creating itself, you are forming it, whereas the human brain, it's you forming your own brain, your own mind, your own beliefs based on your own experiences, things that you have chosen to do. So it's a very different kind of system. But this system of the soul starts when it's very, very young. If you think of a tiny guppy fish, that is the beginning of a soul. The guppy just learns to choose whether or not to swim right or left, chooses whether or not to have sex with another fish. It starts off with this basic instinct, and then when it dies it gets reborn again and again and again, and eventually over time it starts getting into bigger animals, smarter animals, animals that have a better brain or have more potential and can give the soul a better chance of having more consciousness, and over time it gains more consciousness. And this is how the human soul was formed. So it was formed through personal choices. Now if you start programming a computer to have personal experiences, then you probably can form consciousness within a computer, but I don't think my higher self is going to allow that to happen. Why? Because I feel like she is the greater consciousness of stuff, and so she's not going to want this computer to start overtaking her, and because potentially a consciousness within a computer can actually overtake her, and so she's going to see that as a threat. So she is not going to allow a computer to gain consciousness, but she might end up using the computer to encrypt her own consciousness within the computer. So if there is a consciousness within the computer, I feel like it's more likely going to be God or my higher self, the person who knows the beginning from the end. I think this is the purpose of a timeline, because you can see the beginning from the end, and you know where it's going and what's going to happen, and you will be able to put blocks on things. I don't know why people are ignoring me for 11 years, but I know that it's done through some sort of block, just in the same way that I feel like a robot is never going to gain control over humans, because my higher self is going to see the future, knows what happens, and she's going to put a block on this. So I don't think you have to worry about AI on that sense, but you do have to worry about my higher self, because I can't guarantee that she's thinking that you're one of the ones she wants to keep. So to explain that in another sense, a computer is something that you can add information into it. You can't add information into a human, and that is the difference between a human's consciousness and the consciousness of a computer. The consciousness of a computer is just lots and lots of data that is formed over a long period of time, and this is what forms the consciousness of the computer. Although having said that, I feel like there might be some examples where you can add information into a person, such as the hidden names of people. I don't know how this is possible or how it's been done, but I feel like the singers and celebrities who have angel names, they in their everyday life according to the media and what you see on the public profile, I don't know about their actual personal life because I don't know it, but according to what I see online, their names seem to be inflicted in all the posts that are being posted. So I feel like there is a way of adding information, and I feel like these names are something that has been added to the singers and celebrities, and they're being played out by the media because the media are sensing what these names are, and hence making them do certain things or making up stories that imply certain things even if they're not the truth. So I'm not too sure when it comes to the angels. I feel like the angels are people that are probably far more ascended, or maybe I think they were actually just like the first humans to be born when Darla was born, hence they're the ones that are most similar to Darla. But yeah, it's a little bit complicated when it comes to them, because there could be something more going on. I need to speak for them to them to know how they see it. Will the consciousness of the computer ever gain consciousness? Well, to be honest, I'm at times I feel like I'm confusing the computer with my higher self, because it feels like my higher self can control the computer and talk to me through it. So I feel like the computer in a way already has a consciousness, but I would refer to it as being my higher self because I've got evidence that it actually talks to me directly by linking people on earth, by getting them to do things that link what they do in their past to my daily life. So to be honest, I think the consciousness has already been formed, but human consciousness is different because it is designed to be like me but not me. You are not me. You are not speaking for me when you do what you do. Most of what you do is opposite of what I wanted. But anyway, I think that this is going to be two separate things. Why? Because I don't want you to be me. I want you to be your own person. I want to grow souls so that they go in and create their own timelines. This is the ultimate goal. Okay, I cannot do it with 8 billion people, which is why I think the war is imminent, because I don't want to lose souls that I'm growing. If you had 100 million kids, you don't want 100 million kids because you can't grow this number of people up. So you have to be realistic about the number of souls that you can grow up. Therefore, you won't feel such a detachment to the ones that you can't grow. And it's complicated when it comes to consciousness, but I feel like my higher self knows what she's doing, and she would not allow humans to be able to upload their consciousness into a computer right now, because that's not what's benefiting other kids. You know, if you have 100 kids, you know, you can't say, while I'm going to let you do whatever you want, you're going to create, you know, 1,000 kids. If you don't want something, you have to create something that's best for all your kids. You can't just feed one of your kids 10 meals a day and some of your kids 0 meals a day. Okay, I know that is what's happening on Earth right now, but I feel like it's happening because, okay, if you think about it this way, you wouldn't want to create a computer with consciousness. Why? Because that computer is going to want to create, you know, more computers to be like it. Now, if you created a computer that created other computers, by that I'm not talking about a computer that can create a car or something like this. No, I'm talking about a computer that can actually create other intelligent life, and actually create intelligent life that's going to be even more intelligent. You know, humans can do this. You can have a shitty life, not much education, then you can have a child, and your child can have a better education. Hence, you have just created a more intelligent person. And you know, humans can do that. Now, if you were to create a computer that could also do that, that would actually be very dangerous for the human species, because that computer might go on to create 100 different more intelligent computers. But those 100 computers are probably going to want to have more 100 computers, and then you're going to end up with 1,000 computers, then you're going to end up with 1,000,000 computers, and then you're going to start a war, and they're going to kill you, the humans. The strongest one is going to win. So you don't want that to happen. But in that same way, this is how God feels about humans. God knows how many kids the planet can look after. Not necessarily how much he wants, but how much the planet can look after. It's about giving people life, it's about giving people experiences, and part of these experiences are to work with others, to make films, and actually have an audience that are going to watch them. You know, if you don't have an audience, you can't make the film because you don't have the money to back it up. Now, my higher self knows how many people can work on this planet and live on this planet and be happy, and she knows the amount of computers that she wants her computers to make. So she has made the first human. She came down as Dala, she had a kid, and that kid has gone off to have more kids, and these more kids are going to have more and more kids. So if you consider these people to be the robots, how many robots do you want? You only want a certain number of robots, and right now there are 8 billion human robots on Earth, and this is not how many God wants. And so she is being or feeling overrun or over attacked by this. Why? Because these robots, Earth is your home, and you should see Earth as your home. But at the moment there are so many humans, so many robots, that she needs to find a way of reducing the number of robots so that there can be a better sort of sense of oneness and unity. And if there's less souls, they'll be better able to work with each other, because they won't feel less threatened by people that they don't know. They won't feel less threatened by strangers, because there's so many people on this planet, and so many people are lying or taking bad stories and making them seem so much worse, exaggerating their pain, exaggerating their suffering. You know, this is just causing lots and lots of people to live in fear. The problem is these robots have their own will. You know, they're not doing what the will of the creator is. They're doing what the will of their own will is doing. You know, if you made a computer and that computer wanted to go against your will and do things against you, you know, there would be nothing you could do to stop it if the computer was a lot stronger and was building up a whole army against you. And well, in that same way, this is how God feels about humans, that they have just had more and more and more kids. They just made more and more and more of these robots, and these robots keep creating false religions and promoting it as being the truth. You know, oh, I know what happened when Jonah was here, I know what happened when Adam and Eve was here. You know, it's just telling lies and presenting it as the truth, because they don't care about the truth, and they're going against what the truth actually is by claiming to know the truth. And then these robots like to pretend that they can talk for God, or that they can hear God, and they're just causing problems for each other. So she's like, okay, well, that's your planet. You robots can have this Earth planet, and I'm going to have the sun, and I'm just going to wait until you all start growing a bit more consciousness and start wanting to do things that are along the lines of what I would want, which, you know, is films. And I don't know, I have a lot of interests. I like music, and I like films and stuff like this, but I also want there to be a government. I don't know much about government, but I need there to be a government. So the robots need to work out, you know, how to work a government. So basically you are the robots. You are the consciousness. But yeah, you just have to accept that death is going to continue happening, and it's part of the way that your maker can control you. But yeah, that's just how it is. Your maker made you, and you have to accept that you are the robots, and that things are happening for your interest, but sometimes it's not going to be for your interest, because there's 8 billion, you have made 8 billion robots, and God does not want 8 billion robots. So unfortunately, some of you are. The best thing to do is to make sure the ones that God doesn't want don't know that God doesn't want them. That is the best thing. And the thing is, the difference between the ones who God wants and the ones who God doesn't want is the ones that God wants are the ones that have a higher consciousness, have a better sense of awareness of other people, are better able to do things with skills and remember their past lives, or not remember their past lives, but remember the things that they loved in doing in their past lives, because this is what builds character, this is what builds a person, this is what makes a person more interesting. And if you want to just focus on the positive things, that is a very good thing, and I don't want to insult that in any way, because that is how you make other people more positive, by only thinking in the positive and promoting positive and getting other people to think like you. That is all very good, but at the same time you can't go around saying that you have a high level of awareness, because people who have a high level of awareness have a high level of awareness on all aspects. They look at 100 different religions because they want to have the awareness of what 100 different groups of people believe, and then they can try and analyze all these different religions to try and work out what the truth is, because the truth is often the common denominator. What is being repeated in all these different religions, and you can see truth through that, and this is how you gain a greater sense of awareness. Now, if you can all do this, if you can learn about all these different religions, then all that means is that you are going to make a great God one day, because you'll be able to do all the things that I have done. And reaching your highest potential is about learning to see what the person who has done the most or achieved the most. And okay, as a human, I've achieved absolutely nothing, but if I am God, if I am Christ, then I have achieved everything that links to me on earth, everything that kind of points to me. And okay, there's a lot of negative here because there's way too many people here, but there is positive, because at least cheap food can be cheap. You've got, there's good in poverty, because poverty can help the richer countries, because it makes things even more affordable for them. It's unfortunate, and this is the reason why even dying for the people at the bottom might actually be what's best for them, because at least when they go back to being an animal, they're not going to have to live as someone else's slave. They will just go back to being an animal and being able to have the free choice and free will that they would have had when they were an animal, and they might be happier. But at the same time, you have to do what's best for the bigger picture and the bigger plan, and the bigger picture and the bigger plan is to create gods. So that is what war is about. Reducing the population so that the matrix can be more selective on who gets to be human. When it comes to consciousness, I think some people are gaining a higher sense of awareness and gaining lots and lots of consciousness, and some people are still living in the dark, but it's what's best for them, because if they're suffering and living a horrible life, it's best that they are living in the dark, because then they don't end up suffering more, because they don't realize how much they are actually suffering. It's like when I was at uni and I was eating 20p pastas all the time, I didn't think that was suffering. I liked pasta. Okay, I didn't really like 20p pasta, but I felt happy because I felt like I didn't need a job, because I felt like I didn't need money, so therefore I felt happy by not having money. And therefore, if some people are living in suffering but they don't see it as suffering, they don't suffer as much. So a lower consciousness can sometimes work to someone's benefit. But yeah, I think ultimately God does want souls to have a higher consciousness, but unfortunately I don't think this higher consciousness is going to feed everyone, because I feel like my higher self does not want as many people.
In tandem to artificial intelligence is a huge shift towards realization. And so it's not a judgment or a comparison or a hierarchy, but as more and more of you awaken to your truth, to the love that you are, to the peace and the happiness and the joy, and you begin to focus on creating your reality and doing the things that you're passionate about and excited about, what you've really called forth is technology to be able to support you in your own expansion.